Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and this is an update to the Dungeons and Dragons video we did earlier today. Apparently Hasbro is laying off like 1,100 people, and they're actually closing down one of their offices. Things are that bad. They are that bad at Hasbro, and I can't imagine why things are so bad at Hasbro. We've been kind of we and other YouTubers like World Class Bullshitters and other people on Twitter have been chronicling the glut of Hasbro junk rotting at Ollie's discount bargain outlets. I mean, these are new Star Wars figures and they can't even give them away. We've got Marvel stuff. We've got D&D now. We did a whole video about D&D. Nobody wants this stuff. Nobody wants Hasbro's stuff. And they've destroyed the Dungeons & Dragons brand, the goodwill with a lot of gamers over the last year especially. And yeah, a lot of collectors are kind of noping out. I know there have been a lot of discussions about the lack of quality with their toys, and now they're laying more people off. You know, so let's talk about this. It's never good when people lose their jobs, especially people that are just doing what they're told, and management does them dirty. And that's what I think has happened here. Chris Cox has got to go. Cynthia Williams has got to go. And maybe this will get them gone. I don't know. I don't even know what Hasbro wants to be. Hasbro wants to be everything but a toy manufacturer. They want to be an entertainment company. They want to be a video game company. They want to turn D&D into a video game. You know, and just get rid of the tabletop altogether because it costs too much to print that crap, right? So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys. No woohoo in this video. Geeky's sitting this one out, but she was in the previous video. Go look that one up about Dungeons & Dragons rotting at Ollie's. So this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. Hasbro cutting 1,100 jobs after sluggish toy sales persist into the holidays. CEO Chris Cox says challenging conditions expected to stretch into next year, prompting another round of layoffs. They're cutting nearly 20% of its workforce. Oh my God. As weak sales for toys and games persist into the critical holiday shopping period. They've already laid people off this year. They laid like 17% of their staff off earlier this year. The maker of Transformers action figures, D&D, the D&D fantasy game, and Monopoly will cut about 1,100 jobs on top of the 800 layoffs earlier this year. CEO Chris Cox said Monday in a memo to employees viewed by the Wall Street Journal. Hasbro reported having about 6,500 employees as of the end of 2022, and now they're down to about 2,000. That's bad. That's like really, really bad. Cox said the move was spurred by weaker than expected toy sales. Maybe if your toys weren't shit, people would buy them. Maybe if they weren't based on franchises that are dead, people would buy them. Maybe if you actually, try to come up with some new stuff like you used to do back in the 80s and 90s instead of just regurgitating the same thing again and again and again and again. Maybe if you didn't double down on wokeness, that's something coming from former employees of yours. I remember that a couple of years ago. They're like, Hasbro is pushing into politics, and we had the potato persons fiasco and a lot of different things coming out in the games. They've tried to make the board games more inclusive and diverse, and now they're rotting at Ollie's as well. I think that new Clue game, I saw a couple copies of that at Ollie's. Ollie's is basically just the Hasbro landfill. That's what it is. It's become the Hasbro landfill. Anyway, he said, yeah, the sales hit came after historic pandemic-driven highs. The challenges have stuck around through the holiday season and are expected to continue into next year. Yeah, they sold a lot of D&D. They sold a lot of board games because what else are you going to do? Same with comics. People were buying comics because they were stuck in their houses. They had nothing else to do. The market headwinds we anticipated have proven to be stronger and more persistent than planned. Yes, it's blowing that ship right over to Ollie's. While we're confident in the future of Hasbro, the current environment demands that we do more. They sold off their entertainment division. They sold off E1. Look, they've done themselves dirty in a lot of ways because the Dungeons & Dragons movie, and we talked about this, Honor Among Thieves. We talked about it in the other video. I've talked about it before. I actually liked it. It took me a long time to get around to watching it, but I actually liked it quite a bit. And they did that movie dirty by shooting off their mouths about how men were going to be emasculated in this movie and women power and blah, 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 blah. And they did not emasculate the male characters in the movie. It actually was a good ensemble cast, and there wasn't anything quote unquote woke about it. As far as I could tell, I mean, maybe my woke dar is broken. Some people think my woke dar is broken, but I thought it was okay, and it should have done better. But it came right after the OGL debacle. Was it before or after the Pinkertons? They sent the Pinkertons to that guy's house. I think it was before that. But like, look, they've had a very, very bad year in the tabletop space. They courted the wrong audience. That audience is eating them alive. And then they actually wound up losing a lot of their old school fans because of it. And same with collectors. They've screwed over collectors. You know, they've been chasing these new audiences. And, collectors are like, hey, you're cutting corners on this stuff. You're not giving us what we want. And they're jumping ship. They're going to independent toy companies, for their fix, I guess. But again, when I was a kid, I remember Hasbro always had new stuff. They always came up with new ideas, new toy lines. They don't do that anymore. They basically just go back to the same well again and again and again. And it's great for old heads like myself that like that hit of nostalgia. Yeah, I'm going to want a hyper-articulated, whatever, G.I. Joe figure or Transformer, something like that, that's a better representation of the characters I loved as a kid than what we got in the 80s. But that's that market. Like, I'm not seeing them really do anything to market to kids, like new lines to kids. Like, they're not trying new stuff. It's the same thing, Nerf and Transformers, mostly for collectors. My Little Pony every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? They just keep going back to the same things over and over again. And they've effectively damaged D&D beyond repair, I think, at this point. But I digress. In the announcement, just 2 weeks before Christmas. Ouch. Ouch. The announcement comes just 2 weeks before Christmas. As toy companies enter their busiest time of the year, about half of toy companies' yearly sales come in the weeks leading up to the holiday, according to analysts. Making the period a make or break stretch for manufacturers, and apparently they're breaking. They're not getting orders. Early data points to another weak year for the industry following strong sales during the pandemic. U.S. toy sales were down 8% through September. In November, toy sales fell 10% from a year ago, with a 7% drop in the number of units sold, according to Circana, which is some research firm. Hasbro has been hit hard. They've been hit hard as shoppers pull back. Yeah, the recession's not helping. Are we allowed to say that? Are we allowed to say that we're in a recession with inflation? In October, Hasbro said it expected sales to drop by up to 15% this year after previously forecasting a 3 to 5% decline. Toys are a luxury item. So, people are going to spend their money elsewhere on food and stuff. The lowered view came as the company posted its fourth consecutive quarterly loss on a 10% drop in third quarter sales. Meanwhile, Barbie maker Mattel, boosted by the success of the Barbie movie, has weathered the toy sales downturn, breaking a sales slump in the latest quarter. Yeah, but Mattel wasn't doing very well either. I remember for a while they were not doing very well. They expect sales for 2023 to be flat compared with 2022, despite forecasting a decline. So flat's better than a decline, right? I mean, you're treading water. That's better than going the opposite direction. Sales of Barbie toys surged in the third quarter after the Barbie movie roped in over $1.4 billion at the box office. Hasbro shares are down 20% this year, and Mattel stock is up 5.4%. Hasbro unveiled over a year ago that plan to cut costs across its business to grow its profit. An earlier round of layoffs and the departure of operating chief Eric Nyman followed shortly after. They sold E1 to. Cox has looked to return the storied toy maker to its core toy and game business and appeal to consumers of all ages, including adults. The company in August said it would sell E1, which they did do, and they sold to Lionsgate for $500 million. Toy makers have worked to recover as their sales slump after a surge in 2020 and 2021. Everybody surged in 2020 and 2021 because you couldn't leave your house. So you had to find stuff to entertain yourself with. Advertising rates for fan-freaking-tastic. I mean, everything was just like, man, just going up and up and up and up, and then the bubble burst. Hasbro and other toy manufacturers have been plagued by bloated toy inventories and softer demand from inflation-pinched consumers. Let's take another look. Yes, Ollie's where Hasbro goes to die. I would say 75% of the crap at Ollie's is Hasbro. Look, you can still find Rays from like 6 years ago. Oh my God. They have Force Awaken Rey from 2015. They still have her for $2.99. Nobody wants Hasbro crap. And it's not just Star Wars, to be clear. I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars. It's mostly Star Wars, but there's a lot of Marvel stuff. There's a lot of, I mean, you can see all the Marvel. God, look at all the Marvel stuff. Nobody wants Ironheart? Look at that. That's a perfectly good Ironheart. Nobody wants her? Nobody wants Solo stuff from how many years ago? It's just sitting there rotten, collecting dust. But there's Power Rangers stuff there. I've actually gone through and picked up some of the Power Rangers Zords. They had like the 7-inch Zord figures. They don't transform or anything, but they were like $4 each. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy some Zords. I like Power Rangers. I'll buy some Zords for $4. But like these ships, these Star Wars ships, I bought the Luke Skywalker. They have it right here, the X-Wing. Luke Skywalker, Grogu, and the X-Wing. $4.99, and they're still there. You can't even sell Luke Skywalker. You can't even sell classic characters anymore. I mean, there's like Han Solos, and you saw the C-3PO and that other, like nobody, like the brand is so damaged between Disney and Hasbro that like nobody wants even the good characters. It's not just this, like down here, there's Tarkin, I think down here, we got C-3PO, Black Series figures. Nobody wants them. Yeah, they just, between Disney and Hasbro, they just like destroy everything they touch. Hasbro is the latest company to cut jobs and push to boost profits. Spotify said last week it was preparing to lay off 17% of its workforce. That's not good. Cox said in his memo that some employees and roles being cut had already been notified or would be told within 24 hours. He said a majority of employees being let go would be notified in the next 6 months. They also plan to vacate their Providence, Rhode Island office at the end of the lease in January 2025. He said the building wasn't currently used at full capacity and teams would be transferred to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I didn't realize they had 2 offices. I always thought it was Pawtucket because that was always on the back of the toy boxes when I was a kid. But there we go, guys. Way to go, Hasbro. Way to go. And I'm sure, Disney definitely helped because the Disney crap is unsellable. Nobody wants the Disney stuff anymore. I mean, they'll buy the little kid stuff. That's like one of the few things that people are buying are like the preschool toys and stuff. But yeah, there we go. Gonna wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.